How do I make sure that you're not just lying to me or you're just doing deals all across? Then you need some kind of information, right? And then we get a new problem.
Welcome back, and today we're going to talk about that you do not want to get left out to the best deal. And that's where the Most Favoured Nation clause come in, to make sure that you get the best deal out of certain agreements. And in this episode, we are powered by the LE Fitness, which we are very, very happy about.
Yeah.
And we have Kat here, our business lawyer.
Hello.
So we're going to talk that through for you because we think this could be very important for you to know when you're signing agreements.
It's a brilliant clause.
It's a brilliant
to use. I love it. I use it all the time.
Tell me about it. Most Favoured Nation. It sounds very like majestic.
Indeed. And it comes from treaties between countries, but we're going to talk about it in business relationships between companies and nothing else. So what it really is, we can use 3 examples. We'll start with the investment opportunity. Whereas you approached me and asked me to invest, perhaps to be the first investor in your startup. You say, oh, it's worth 200 million.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. And please invest 10K, because I'm a little angel. And you get no information rights, you get no board rights, the valuation is high, but it's worth it. And then I say, okay, I can deploy the capital, I can go first, I can take the risk, but what if in 3 weeks' time only, you realize that that valuation of 200 is unreasonable, and you lower the valuation to 10 million?
And that's a big difference.
Yeah. So then I can say, I will invest on the terms that you give me, but I will also want a Most Favoured Nation clause, which means that you cannot give anybody else better, more favorable terms than me, because then you have to adjust my terms so they are the same.
Okay, and what terms can it be? I mean, for example.
Well, imagine that, like in this situation, we talked about a valuation of 200, no board position, no information rights, no veto rights. Then you go out shopping and you find out that nobody else will accept 200. And another investor, also angel, also only investing 10K, saying, well, I'll do it, but I want 25% of your company, and I want to be the chairman of the board, and I want this and that. Well, then I as well am entitled to the same terms and conditions, the same terms.
So it has to be equal if you have the Most Favoured Nation.
Yeah. So you cannot favor anybody. I want the same terms, least as favorable. I can get better terms, but not less favorable. So you can go out and fundraise at the valuation of 300 from others, because that doesn't bother me. But it cannot be better than the terms I'm getting.
Okay, so where do I write this clause? In the shareholders agreement or share purchase agreement?
Yeah, typically investment agreement.
Investment agreement.
Yeah, and we can, because we'll come back to the problematic aspects of it. The second example, when it's brilliant, it's like in a supply chain situation. And here we can also see the complexity that you need to think of from both parties in particular. Imagine that you turn to me with your startup or your business and say, well, I deliver fruit. Let's say fruit. I deliver fruit. You run a hotel. I'll deliver fruit to your hotel every morning between 7 and 9 o'clock. I'll give you the wholesale cost that I pay plus 20%, no more, no less. I will not charge you more than a margin of 20%. I say, okay, well, that's fine, but I'm first in line, you're a new company, this is a new offering. I want the Most Favoured Nation clause. So I will accept those terms, but if you offer somebody else the same terms, then I want them as well. You need to adjust my terms so they are the same. So if you then go to somebody else and say, well, I'll give you only a 10% markup, then you need to adjust my terms. So it's a brilliant clause to have for me as the buyer. For you as the seller?
It can be a less good.
Yeah. What this illustrates is, number one, it can be highly inflexible for you as the seller or the one granting the most favored nations. It's the same in the investment case. You will be locked. You will have less flexibility.
But it is a good way to just have good customer relations and always want the best for your customers.
It is, if there's somebody you really want to attract, you really feel like you can promise it. But you should, number one, try to limit it in time, because that 20% markup might not be even feasible for you in the future for whatever reasons. It might be cost of employment or transport or something, inflation that affects it. Who knows? And also try to be very careful to define what constitutes favoring somebody. Because what if I get kind of the first quality assortment of fruit? You gave it to me between 9 and 7 every morning, 20% markup. What if somebody else gets 15% markup, so they get it cheaper, but they get a second assortment of fruit, and you can deliver it anytime between 12 noon and 7 in the morning? Is that more favorable, or is it just different? So be careful to define, is it only the price we're talking about? If not, what's the same quality? What's the same terms and conditions?
To be specific.
Yeah, because otherwise we might end up in a dispute. And another thing is, information-wise, for me, if I'm the one getting the most favored nation clause, how do I make sure that you're not just lying to me or you're just doing deals all across? Then you need some kind of information, right? And then we get a new problem.
What is that?
Anti-competition law.
Yeah, exactly.
Antitrust law.
Okay.
Because can you just share your price lists and your information, your deals with anybody? You have to be very careful. You have to look at the jurisdiction where you're in, so it doesn't seem like anti-competition laws are infringed and you end up not getting a good deal. Instead, you end up with big fines and other problems. So there are a lot of complexities, and in the investment case that we took in the beginning, well, then of course I would say limit it in time.
Yeah, okay.
And perhaps also in scope. If I am investing 10K, you can say, okay, I give you a most favored nation clause in relation to other angel investors that invest between 10 and 30K. But if I get a VC that invests 10 million, I cannot treat you the same as that VC.
No, okay.
Or it only lasts 6 months, because after that, things will have happened, good and bad. And you have to be able to renegotiate with others.
Okay, but let's say I'm the seller of the fruit. Is there any benefits for me having the most favored nation? I'm thinking about also let's say if a catastrophe happens where I buy my fruit. Do I have like a force majeure to cover that, or how specific do you need to be from the seller side?
Those do not interplay like that.
They don't?
No, so you should always have a force majeure to protect that part that you can deliver or not. But the terms and conditions in the most favored nations, I mean, you attract a good customer. I would say that's number one really for you. And of course, when you go out negotiating with others, you can, at least in the investment case, you might use it as a negotiation, kind of saying that, well, if I give it to you, I have to give it to everybody else, so it won't be helpful. But that won't be as relevant when you deliver fruit, because everybody will want it cheap, right?
Yes, of course.
And quickly, and reliable, and first quality. But in the investment case, what you give to somebody, what valuation can affect what you give to somebody else. If you give somebody veto rights and you say, well, they have a most favored nation, they must also have it. That can have implications on the negotiations.
Oh, okay.
We had a third example where you can use it.
Yes, and what
which
was
I
that?
love. It's when either if you're a buyer talking to a supplier or somebody else, or when you're an investor, and you want to move quickly, and you're shooting a bit in the dark. Because the first two examples, we were looking forward-looking really. But in this case, I use it more offensively. I say, here are the terms and conditions I will invest in you based on, but I also want to do it on a most favored nations basis, which means that I might demand one board position. But in the term sheet, I say, but on a most favored nation basis, which means that if you have another VC that you have granted 2 board seats, then you have to grant also me 2 board seats. So the two first were forward-looking. This one actually comes in, and I want the history. I want whatever you gave somebody else before, I want in on. And that can also be in the supply chain. I'll accept the 20%, but I want it on most favored nation basis. So if it turns out you've been giving everybody else 15 already, you have to give me 15% as well.
Well, this sounds like a magical clause.
It's really good if you know how to use it. But remember, be careful with anti-competition law or competition law, depending on which jurisdiction, how you prefer to call it. And also be careful with the inflexibility and the risk for disputes, and make sure you can control it. I mean, you need to verify if it actually is applied or not.
So this is really good to have in your negotiations.
Yeah, good in the toolbox.
Put it in the toolbox. As always, when you are watching us, something new is coming up, the knowledge we are sharing. Remember, this is knowledge sharing and not legal advice.
Indeed.
And I'll say thank you for today.
And we are very happy if you do
like and
subscribe
to our channel and share to your network, because this is knowledge that everybody needs to have access
and we're
to.
sharing it for free, because this is our vision and mission, that you all should learn. You should build your toolbox no matter where you are in the world, no matter your economic situation, no matter your network. We want you all to know these kind of maneuvers.
Yes, and get the chance to keep educating yourself.
Indeed.
Thanks for today, and now you know about the Most Favored Nation clause. Do not forget about that one when you negotiate next time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.